Change the level.
Right. I will tend to have gavel. I call this regular meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order this Monday, October 21st, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. here at the Red Oak Fire Station located at 1904 North Broadway. Just a note, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to our website so that others can view our council meetings from here moving forward. And also new to the city's website is the entire packet. So you can follow along in the entire packet. So invocation by Pastor Gary Mays with Ascension Reformed Church. Gary, if everyone would please stand.
Right. Our Lord God, we acknowledge your sovereign rule over all the affairs of man. We thank you for your wise and righteous governing of your creation, as you uphold all things by the word of your power. Our gracious Lord, we intercede today for this mayor and council, for your strength and protection as they seek to wisely minister the affairs of this small portion of your world. May they not lean upon their own understanding, but be infused with the spirit of wisdom and understanding, acknowledging you, O Lord, in all their ways. May this governing body not be wise in their own eyes, but instead reverence the Lord. May the Most High grant discernment to our elders, nor let the things that belong to this community's peace be hid from their eyes. May they manage the affairs of this local community with equity and humility. Guide these leaders to make sound fiscal decisions, seeking the welfare of the city. Help the mayor and council to be trustworthy, weighing each decision with integrity, guarding as a sacred trust, confidence placed in them by the citizens of this community. Bless their labors, O Lord, and may their service bring glory and honor to you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ashley.
Yeah.
It's gonna take me a bit to get used to saying that, so you know.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure I got everybody's names right.
And this is Ashley Wilson,
Yeah.
our new city clerk.
Thank
So
you.
we welcome her to joining us.
Yeah. Bradley. Here. Bill.
Here.
Friedel.
Here.
Heidzik.
Here.
Hebrink.
Here.
All right, number 5, approve of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Friedel,
I'll second.
Bradley, roll call.
Bill.
Yes.
Friedel.
Yes.
Heidzik.
Yes.
Hebrink.
Yes.
Bradley. Yes.
All right, number 6 is proclamations and special notices. And it's been a little while since we've done this, and we have two, a group and an individual that I'd like to recognize this evening. Stand up, I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna start. We've got quite a crowd, so thank you. So I'd like to take an opportunity to acknowledge groups and individuals for doing things that bring heart and pride and soul to our community, and for people that go over and above, maybe not even necessarily when they know that they do it. And so it's a great pleasure for me to award this first award to Melissa Geralt Watt Marshall. Melissa, if you'd come up here for a moment. So most of you have probably recognized Melissa as she works at Fairway, and she is just a joy and delight. Always acknowledges people with the word beautiful. Good morning, beautiful. How are you, beautiful? And I just think we need more people spreading positive joy like you're doing. You are brightening the days of so many people by just being nice and kind and generous. And I just think that you are a delight, Melissa. So this award is a building community award for heart and soul. It's Pride Award for Excellence, presented to Melissa. Can you pronounce is it girl?
It's Marshall, so I'm there.
Yeah, Marshall. So Melissa Marshall. The certificate acknowledges Melissa's unending, positive, radiant attitude that brightens the day of Fairway's customers, is a shining example for others, and spreads true joy. And this is from myself and the city council. So,
Well, thank you. So blessed. Yeah.
yeah, where would you like us?
That also came with the 50 cent raise.
Send this. Yeah, they're gonna
That's
do
it.
everything.
That's it. All right. I got it.
The flag in the background, I think. Here we go. Does this work? Can you get the flag in the background? Not too high. I can't see your face.
Oh.
We gotta see that smile.
Of course it is.
You're welcome. Thank you. You guys are so beautiful, amazing. I love it.
And just be joyous every morning, or is that just?
We have to be blessed as we all are. I want to try to further on.
Yes, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you. So I'm gonna have to read this one. So the mission of the high school instrumental music program is to empower all learners to excel as artists and caring citizens through diverse and engaging experiences, through creating, performing, responding to, and connecting with music. Our Tiger Marching Band, our junior high, and our 6th grade bands have been working hard so far this year, performing and representing Red Oak very well. And this was brought to my attention by Ethan Strunk. Ethan, would you like to join me up here? Ethan is a member of the Mayor's Youth Council, and I appreciate him being here and bringing this to my attention as well. So thank you for joining me. He's going to help me present this award. In the past 3 weeks, the Tiger Marching Band has participated in several honorary competitions where they've earned some extraordinary rankings, awards, and accolades. October 5th, the Tiger Marching Band received 2nd place in the parade and 2nd place in the field show at the Southwest Iowa Band Jamboree in Clarinda. They brought home Outstanding Drum Major and Outstanding Soloist awards. October 12th, they were in Glenwood and took 3rd place in 2A prelims and 4th place overall in finals. They wrapped up their marching band competitions for the year this past weekend, where they received a division ranking in Glenwood, and then traveled to Ankeny, where they received 4th place in 2A and 1st in music general effects. Under Mr. Eberly's leadership, they've seen a talented group proudly display strong performance skills. This year, they've had 47 students in the high school marching band, 27 students in the junior high band, and 29 in our 6th grade band. So those are solid numbers, and that's exciting to see that. As the mayor of Red Oak, I've expressed my appreciation for Red Oak's rich culture. Training and hands-on learning in the arts, theater, and musical performances are transformative for our young people to experience. Building artistic talents not only allows them to nurture a skill that they can take into their adulthood, but sometimes these skills become a career pathway and even employment or startup opportunities towards self-employment. Most importantly, it creates a strong foundation for growing their confidence. These experiences promote our school, our community, and they generate a positive synergy that puts heart and soul and grooms an attitude of excellence and pride, all building community. With this said, it's my honor to award the Red Oak Tiger Marching Band with a token of my and the City Council's appreciation, acknowledging your leadership, instruction, outstanding performance, rankings, and honors. And we want to pay tribute to recognize your love of music. You and those not with us, because not all of you are here, but we do appreciate all of you for coming out. All of you are a shining example of the things that make Red Oak so special. I just wanted to acknowledge our gratitude also for Mr. Everly and other instructors for your contributions to developing the talent of our young people. Excellence and pride are important core values that create heart and soul in the community. Please let all the members that are not here tonight also know they are each represented in this award, as each plays a critical role in this accomplishment and your overall success. I hope you display this with pride and that all know how important each is to the whole. Thank you for shining brightly for Red Oak. Know Red Oak is proud.
You want to have them all come up, Mayor, for a picture?
Yes, should I come right back over here?
Yeah, they can
Good?
come in this little
So
area.
can I have all members of the high
Yes.
school next? Come on up.
Yeah, that's good. Over there, swinging right in front of the spot. Let's put some effort this.
Mayor, maybe in the middle.
I was beating yourself.
Mr. Everly, right here.
About time.
How's that?
Again.
Make sure we can win.
Everybody look at who's ever taking the picture, right?
Go ahead.
Oh, gosh, look at this last one. Good deal.
Congratulations.
I was gonna read this one. It's a heart and soul pride award of achievement. Presented to the Red Oak Tigers Marching Band. This certificate is presented to Mr. Everly and his senior high school band for demonstrating and attaining exceptional rankings, awards, and accolades throughout the 24, I said 25, so it's this school year, band performance and competition season. So thank you very much. Appreciate all your leadership and everything that you do to groom our young people for future.
It's easy when you have a great bunch of kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite thing this season? Fondest moment?
I love standing in front of the bands and conducting and hearing all of our hard work just shoot into the stands. That is just incredible.
Excellent.
Being able to build such a great community and such a great program region is just a great thing to be able to do this year.
Excellent. Are you ladies seniors?
I'm a senior.
Okay,
I'm a junior.
okay, good.
I'm trying to get.
That's pretty similar with this. Yeah, I thought it was great just to see everybody grow and to grow with them.
Mhm.
And to finish off a great season. It felt really good.
Great. How about some of the younger?
It's great to watch the freshmen kind of step up because we didn't have a lot of freshmen come in this year, so it's great to watch them step up and grow as they went into the year.
Excellent. All right, does anybody else have any other comments? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, well, thank you and congratulations. Come in, everybody. Number 7, public comments, and this is a 2-minute limit and they must sign in. Do we have any? None, and nothing online as well? None in the chat. Okay, so no public comments. Number 8, consent agenda includes the minutes of the city council meeting of 10/7/24, the library board meeting from September 9th of 24, and the September 2024 warrants to publish. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Heidzik
Second.
and Heatbrink. Roll call. Riddle,
Yes.
Heidzik,
Yes.
Heatbrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Number 9, October 21st, 2024, city claims and utility deposit refunds in the amount of $332,685.15 is the claims. And then the refunds is $985.12.
Questions about those claims.
Okay,
I mean, I guess I just don't understand, but we got what, 5 or 6 people there that reimbursed $225 each. What is that for?
that's the deposit. We repay back their deposits.
225 though, where are you seeing that? On what
It's
page?
on page 9 of 81. There's reimbursements to 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are you looking at the warrants, not the bills?
Oh,
Are
yeah,
you looking for reimbursements for the warrants?
they're looking at the warrants, the reimbursements.
Oh.
Yeah.
But then I question the purchase of mattresses.
Those
Aren't those for bed bugs?
were for bed bugs.
I think most of that was covered by insurance. So that's covered by insurance.
And also Circle C signs for $593. We got an outfit in town that does the same thing. Why aren't we shopping local?
Let's see signs. Is that Chris? Is that something
It's
for you?
150, so is that fire?
150 fire.
Okay,
Did you get some shirts from there?
Probably uniform shirts.
Uniforms? So that's uniform shirts, John. So that's probably not something you can buy in town. It's not like t-shirts. Is it uniform t-shirts or? It's uniform?
Uniform t-shirts, embroidery, that's all of our setups.
The embroidery on the t-shirts and for the department.
We can look at, obviously it's, those have been purchased, but we can look at the place in town.
Circle C does graphics and t-shirts and stuff like that. That's the reason I'm questioning.
I understand. So I said we can look at, you're talking about that we have someone locally, is that not here in town, correct?
They don't embroidery.
I don't think they embroider.
They don't embroidery.
They,
Yes.
the place here?
They don't embroidery.
Yeah, they do, because of the, is it Vans? What's it
Vans.
called? Yeah, I asked them
Do they
because I want to get stuff for us.
Do they embroider?
They said they would to me.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
Versus
they just
screen
did
print.
Screen print, yeah.
You only have 2 in town?
I thought we only had one.
There's one off the square.
Yeah, they do big accounts. I don't know if they do individual.
Going forward, as a staff, we'll look at the ones in town and see what we can do and compare prices.
All right, well, I appreciate it because I mean.
We're a
I think
taxpayer.
Shop local.
I understand. We'll look at that.
okay.
Any other questions
Any
on the
other
bill?
questions?
Well, there's several reimbursements for $225 each.
So that's on the warrants that was approved previously, so I don't have that list. So in the future, if you have any, it would be helpful, especially if they're on the warrants, which is a combination of what the library board, park board, airport commission, and the city council paid in September. So we don't have the invoices with us. So if you ever see them on what's called the warrant list, if you can let us know ahead of time, then we can go back and check. Because 225 is not a deposit, so I'm not sure what that is.
Right, and
Is
on
that
here it
employees?
says, gives their name and reimbursement, $225.
I understand. Does anybody know, are those employees of something?
Andy Ray was United. That might have been his water deposit from his previous building.
But isn't water deposit $75?
Yes, Actually,
I don't know
yes.
what.
Are
I'm
any
not
of them
sure what this is.
lifeguards or anything? Because usually you pay lifeguards for their.
All of them.
No.
Was it, their swimming suits?
What
Their
is
swimming
that?
suits and
Does anybody
training,
know who these people are? what they're
CPR
conducting?
training. I think those were CPR training.
Lifeguards.
Oh. Are they the parents though of our lifeguards?
Nobody knows who these people are.
Yeah, I know who they are, I just
Mhm.
can't tell you.
I mean, are they
I would
teenagers
never
though,
know.
like?
So
No,
is there any way
They're
that we could
adults.
get the warrants earlier than, packet, so we could review them? Before the meeting?
Yeah, let me see here.
I mean, you can, yeah.
I'm just thinking there isn't enough
I saw
time
these
to
too.
really look over if we have questions.
The key is if you have a question though, to let us know
Yeah.
so that we can check what it is.
I wanted the ducks at 7 Skyler clockwise instead of clockwise around the pool. So I whack it off.
So these are lifeguard certifications.
That's what I thought.
Karen just texted it. Thank you to those in the.
so it's the parents' names that are on there, their kids.
For their kids.
Correct.
That would make
Okay,
sense.
because that makes sense.
So that looks like an amount that usually reimburse
Yeah.
and most cities will do it. I don't know what we do, but usually wait till
Okay.
the end of the summer to make sure they stay employed with us. So they
Thanks
pay
to
up front for the
Karen for
class.
watching and listening.
Yes, thank you, Karen. in the-
Thanks, Karen.
in the accounts payable department.
And they get reimbursed if they stay with us through the whole year.
For the season, yeah.
We'll probably need to look at it because I think the proper thing is that you pay the students that are our employees, but obviously it is.
Yeah. All right, so those,
So that's what that is, John. We have an agreement. If you work for us in the summer at the pool, and that's pretty common amongst most cities, that because of that cost and the amount of money that they make, that it's common for a city to say, as a part of your employment, if you stay for the whole summer, that you get reimbursed at the end of summer for the cost of being trained as a lifeguard. Instead of us, like another option is that we simply pay for the class if you want to work for us, but then if we pay for the class and you bail after a week,
mhm.
then we've paid for something that we didn't get to take advantage of. So.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve city claims?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Bradley and Friedhoff. Roll call.
Heitzig,
Yes,
Hebring,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
Friedhoff.
Yes.
And Lisa, just to clarify, does that amount need to add this?
Yes.
That's what I thought, and I did not do that.
So page 23 of the packet is always a list. If we have bills that we need to pay to not pay a penalty, we'll pay those and then present those. They don't come on the same report. So the newest one is New Cooperative, and I'm gonna meet with them to see if we can get a 30-day terms. Right now, I think it's 15 days, and then with the snail mail of the post office, we don't get it with very much time.
Do we
Okay.
take bids on our fuel?
No one's gonna look at that, like I,
We
you know,
tried
talked
looking
about
at that and
We've talked about
people
it.
looked at that unfavorably. Too. That they
I
would
think
like
we
us to
should.
do
I
business.
think any city should take bids on their fuel.
many do, and then I'm sure what here is if there's
We-
4
we-
gas stations, you
We,
want to just
we
spread
get
it
a
out.
discount with them, but we also get a discount with every place besides Cubby's and Casey's.
But you're saying like go and see who's gonna give us the best price.
Well, I just think it's,
There's a reason why we have to use several different ones due to staff that are going to trainings outside of the city and having a fuel card, unless we do reimbursement with their credit card. I mean, we just gotta look at that, I guess, but that's one of my
do you know
understandings.
if we've, have we gotten bids before for fuel?
I do not know that. I know that Adam looked into it.
And that's a tough one to figure out because we have people coming from every place in town.
We would have to
To
do
get
it.
that compiled is
annually.
gonna be a lengthy task.
All right.
But I'm all in favor for doing that. I mean,
We can get a better price.
contract.
Number 10, did we roll call? Yes, we did. Okay. Did we ordinance number 638? This is the second reading of 3 readings for the cemetery management, chapter 115 ordinance. Yeah, Lisa, did you want to update them again on what this
Mhm.
is?
No, we discussed this last time. You'll recall that we found in the ordinance that it was requiring Brad Baker as our superintendent to be at every funeral and that there was no option in the code to have or his or her designee In addition, it changed the reporting that he gives to the council from monthly to quarterly. And then in practical terms, he was really always reporting to the city administrator, although the code said the council. So it says day-to-day operations is reporting to the city administrator. Obviously, the council always still has the authority that you always have. So those are the changes, and we recommended 3 separate readings, so this would be the second of the 3.
Right.
And the,
Right off.
the second reading.
Second.
Think. Any further discussion? It also removes him from having to do park stuff, although they
They're always
frustrate
gonna
all the
cooperate.
time.
But I think that came back in the days when, was it,
Yes.
was over both.
Yes,
So it just was an update to the fact that we now have Brad and Adam.
correct. Roll call.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley? Yes. Bills?
Yes.
Rudolph?
Yes.
And Heitzig.
Yes.
Number 11 is a resolution 2024-61, setting a date for the public hearing on the urban renewal plan amendment for the Red Oak downtown urban renewal area.
So we have a TIF district or an urban renewal area downtown. We also, you'll recall that a few months back, you approved applying for a catalyst grant through the state IDA, and the community was awarded $100,000 towards the project at 503 3rd Street. So the commitment on behalf of the city when you applied for that grant was to also contribute $100,000. The intent when you applied was for it to come from the urban renewal area. In order to use funds from there, you have to amend the plan, and that takes a public hearing, to have a notice in the paper, and then you also have to have a development agreement. And so both of these next 2 resolutions are related to that. If approved this evening by those 2 resolutions, we'll have an ad in the paper with adequate notice. And then 2 more meetings on November 18th, we'll hold those 2 public hearings. And again, then at that meeting, you would be considering adding the parcel itself is already in the urban renewal area. So this would be indicating to the other taxing jurisdictions that this project would be included in the plan and that you would be intending to spend the $100,000, which would be over a 3-year period at the $33,000 a piece. Also, if this is approved tonight, then I'm required by law to notify the school district and the county as overlying taxing jurisdictions. I plan to have a meeting with them that they're invited to on October 30th, which would just be a city hall with me, explain it to them, and then they have an opportunity prior to council approval to make comments on that. So this is simply approving a resolution in the first case for the urban renewal plan amendment to direct staff to put that public hearing notice in paper.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-61 to set the date for that public hearing on November 18th at 5:30 here at the Red Oak Library or Red Oak Fire Station.
Move to approve.
Heitzig
I'll second.
and Bradley. Any further discussion? Roll call. Bradley?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rudolph?
Yes.
Heitzig?
Yes.
Hebrink.
Yes.
All right, and then resolution 2024-6-60 is setting a date of the meeting at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with the Fountain Square LLC, including annual appropriation tax increment payments to for the 503 North 3rd Street project.
You already explained that, but it's the development agreement would include $100,000 as a maximum, not to exceed $100,000 with Fountain Square LLC, which is the owner of the property at 503 3rd Street.
I'll move to approve.
Right off.
I'll second.
Bradley? Any discussion? Okay. Roll call. Bills?
Yes.
Rudolph?
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley. Yes. Okay. Number 13, resolution 2024-62. This is the approval to provide a chapter 457 retirement savings plan via the International City Managers Association. Another plan as compared to IPERS. I don't know if you wanted to share the difference between the two plans.
Yeah, so IPERS is a true pension. City administrators in the state of Iowa were allowed by state code to opt out of that in case, I think it was just a way to try and attract administrators who maybe thought they weren't going to stay for 7 years. So the city is still required under my employment agreement to pay the same that you would pay for IPERS. I'm required to pay the same. So that's where my funds go instead of IPERS. If we're already having the plan, it would be another opportunity to present to other full-time employees who want to save towards retirement. It would all be in the case of other employees that they're contributing whatever they'd like to contribute, but it's a pre-taxed additional way of saving towards their retirement. So once we get the account set up, then we can present to other employees if they'd like to purchase.
So the matching is the same.
Yep, it's identical. If it's 9.6 for IPERS and 6 something for me, we have the same. It's just one of the exceptions in the law.
So that would be presented to the rest of the employees as an option.
They would have the option to participate voluntarily.
And when do they have that option?
It'll be as soon as we set it
A
up.
certain time of the year?
With
I think
renewals?
you can change it anytime. I don't
Yeah.
think it's like an open enrollment. We'd obviously get it set up, make sure it's working properly for mine, and then we would present it to them. And I think you can change your deduction at any time. It's not.
So it's
like an
not
annual
just to city administrators. I thought that's what you didn't.
Good.
thing. City administrators are the only ones that are allowed to replace IPERS with it. IPERS is mandatory for full-time employees.
So this would be an additional, right?
In addition. The IPERS?
Not for me,
Not for you, but for other employees.
It would be another opportunity for them to save.
but voluntarily and 100% they're funding. The
Okay.
city is not funding anything
I
for
see.
anyone that gets
Okay.
IPERS. This is replacing
Yeah, I
IPERS for
misunderstood. I
administrators.
thought it was open to everyone.
It is open to everyone, but not as a cost share with the employer. So if they just wanted to say at $100 a paycheck, I want to save pre-tax towards my retirement, they would just get their
Well, it's like
deduction
a
of 100.
TSA account. Type shelter annuity.
Correct. Roths, different,
Roths, yeah.
right?
I don't think this would go to it. This would be like a, yeah.
It's just extra for them and
Yeah.
it's pre-tax.
All right. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the retirement savings plan.
Okay, Bradley,
I'd second it.
Hebrink. Roll call. Any, any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Real,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
14, ordinance number 639, floodplain management. This is the first of 3 readings. So I can explain.
So I am the floodplain administrator. Every city, there are some cities that are managed directly by the DNR and the Corps of Engineers. When there's a full-time person on staff like myself, the state will authorize someone within your community to be allowed to administer the floodplain ordinances. In the case of Red Oak, that is me. And so I received an email from Jason Kahn, who's an employee at the Iowa DNR, indicating that in order for the city to stay in compliance with the expectations of the DNR, when it comes to the floodplain, we needed to make 3 amendments. The first is just how they refer to what we currently call a factory-built home park. We now call it a park or subdivision, so that word is added in there. In addition to the section that was listing kind of mechanical type equipment, they just expanded that list. So if you look in that middle section, it doesn't just say like air conditioning and electrical, it says specifically an electric meter, electric service panel box, hot water heaters. So they're really just making more of a complete list of what is required to be installed at a foot above our floodplain elevation, which is how Red Oak administers it. And then the third section is a completely new addition, and it's really talking about utility services. So it adds to the list, you know, your water pipes, your gas meters, all those kinds of things that are, you know, plumbing lines that may not have been directly called out. So I amended the code as they directed, and then over the weekend, I sent it to him just to make sure that it would be in compliance if adopted by the council, and Jason gave his blessing to the ordinance. So again, proper to go through the three codes whenever, or three readings when we can. So I would recommend approval of the first reading.
Now, do we have to approve each amendment separately, or can we approve them all at once?
I would say it's not emergent that I always think it's best to try and go with the spirit of the state's requirement to read it at three separate meetings.
Okay.
So I would say just approve tonight for the first reading, as long as we're working towards that goal.
No, I meant each amendment has to be.
No, this
No,
is
it can
one
be-
code.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, sorry. So one vote for the first reading.
Okay, I would approve that. We approve the first reading of the amending the provisions pertaining to the floodplain management.
Okay, Bradley, Heidzik. Any further discussion? Roll call. Heidzik,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Friedel.
Yes.
Number 15, this is resolution 2024-63. This is a declaration of a surplus of both a fire department brush truck and an ambulance.
There's fire staff here, the chief is here, and Brian is here if there's any questions, but the most proper way to dispose of equipment like that, that's not a minor, small thing, is for the council to declare it surplus. We would then do a proper advertisement for it, which is in the works to be able to advertise in a newspaper that goes to all the fire departments across Iowa and Nebraska. We, at the staff's recommendation, are setting the minimum bid at 20,000 so that somebody doesn't flip through here and get $1,000. Obviously, we reserve the right to reject all of those. So we would like to have the resolution to approve that. And then the second phase of this is that the new brush truck that's anticipated to come in December is mainly being donated by the association, and all of the fundraising is coming from there. There is the potential that they have some shortfall in their funds, and so the request, which we could vote on the exact numbers when they know how much they're short and how much we get for the truck, but they would at least like the council's commitment via this resolution that we would be able to use the dollars that come in for the current brush truck sale towards any shortfall that they have. If not, obviously it wouldn't be needed, and kind of explained in there that they still have ongoing fundraisers. There is a business person in town that has committed to giving. We just don't know the amount. So, if there's any questions for the chief or anybody.
And then Lisa did include the bid sheets,
Are
as
these
you noticed.
donations particularly targeted to this fund, particularly?
If you're gonna answer, just come up so you're.
Brian Gammon, treasurer of the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. So yeah, the last 2 years, we've been working on donations for the brush truck replacement. Historically, the Volunteer Association has always paid for our brush trucks. So both brush trucks we have out there, plus our UTV and our utility pickup, have been bought and paid for by the association. Could be donated funds, memorials, funds gifted to us. The truck that we're actually getting rid of, the volunteers actually had to go out and get a loan because the city at that time wouldn't put any money towards it. So we went out and got a loan and paid for it.
Wonderful.
Any other questions?
Do you think the bid's fair? Starting bid 20,000, the minimum bid is fair? Cause I mean, that's pretty, seems like it's pretty low mileage truck.
We think that the brush trucks, there's gonna be a lot of interest.
Okay.
So we kind of went off what we're thinking with that truck. There's another truck for sale in town that's about that cost. Obviously, it
Okay.
doesn't have the skid unit, anything like that, but we think with the way fires are going, everyone around us, we think it's gonna be pretty popular.
Okay. So I saw the miles on it. I was like, that's pretty low miles and with what it has equipped on it.
Correct.
20,000 I thought was low. No, my opinion was low. I don't know, but I just, with everything on, I thought it was low. I would just want to know what your opinion is or thoughts on that.
We thought that was probably reasonable for our neck of the woods if it were to be more than likely a volunteer department making that purchase to make it somewhat realistic, but yet we didn't want to just give it away either, so hopefully it comes in well over that.
And the
I hope
bids
so.
could
I hope
shock
so,
us. We listed a tanker several years ago. We were thinking $5,000-6,000 and we got close to 25, so
Okay.
it could shock us all.
I hope so.
So these are, the bids are due December 3rd with the sealed bids opening at 3 on December 3rd, is that correct? Or they're due at 3? That's for the truck, and then the
Just like
ambulance is at 2:30. Half an hour.
One's for the ambulance and one's for the restroom.
If anybody has questions, they're gonna contact you guys.
Was this an online auction or did all the bids have to come through here?
City Hall.
City Hall,
City Hall.
because I saw the form for it. I just didn't know if we're like using a online platform either, like
If we ever thought, like, that's why we usually do these resolutions, to just give the staff direction. So if we really thought that we should have gotten something more, we could reject all the bids and try again. If you
Okay.
thought like. But it seems like this system, at least in our area with this newspaper, everything that I've heard from area fire departments is, it's a good tool.
We think initially
Pretty
the fire
inexpensive.
truck's gonna be very popular. The ambulance could be iffy either way, but, we think the fire truck's not gonna be an issue.
yeah. I think that'll go fast. I have a question, the ambulance. I hope you did, what you? Yeah, yeah.
So with
Nobody
this,
bids, we can try again.
so with this resolution, you're also approving if they need to fill the shortfall with the revenue generated off of the truck, that
Right.
you're willing to do that. With numbers, final numbers to come later.
Once they're done, we have the truck and we know what the sale is, which we should be getting the new truck around the time where we get these bids, so. We'll come back so that there's an official, here's how much we're giving. But at least they know that they have that backup as a final number.
Take a motion to approve.
Move to approve the resolution.
Right on.
I second it.
And heat brake. Any further discussion?
I do want to add one thing that we had talked about. I think it's most proper that the city actually makes the purchase because it is going to become our equipment. And so what Brian and I talked about was that the association will donate the funds into the city's budget, or, you know, they'll give us the check and then we'll cut the actual check for the truck. Just because we're going to insure it, it'll be owned by the city, so titled to the city.
Good deal.
Yep.
Council is in agreement? Okay. Roll call. Heat brake.
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Friedel.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Okay, number 16 is resolution 2024-64. This is the approval of the Woodland Hills 2 final plat, which is also explained in Lisa's memo.
So you actually approved this back in March, but whenever you did it, I think whoever presented it to the council wasn't aware of the fact that you have to have a formal resolution, which the recorder's office at the courthouse requires in order for the developers to take and record that plat. And so we're just backtracking. I provided the minutes where you would have already gone through the proper channels. Planning and zoning is also required to review it by our code, which they have done so, I made sure as well earlier in March. I think it was like the 11th and the 18th. And so this is kind of just a redo to make the proper paperwork so that they can move forward.
Yes, I just want to know of the change that needs to be made on paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 5.
Yeah, there's an,
Thank you.
Let it be
I
known.
already changed that for the friend.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I made a motion last time. I will do the same again. So I move to approve the resolution.
Second that motion.
Right off, Bradley, any discussion? Roll call. Bradley,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Friedel,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink.
Yes.
Number 17, discussion on the 2020, 2021, and 2022 audit findings. I appreciate greatly Lisa going through all of these and putting the details to each of these items with segregation of duties, the disaster recovery plans, which is more the cyber security side, the budget amendments, the capital fund deficits, the sewer charges to the city properties, TIF debt reporting, the chamber and the MCDC funding, and then the insurance levy. Lisa, do you want to provide any other further explanation other than what you'd already put in the memo?
No, I just think maybe for the sake of the public, just a
Yeah.
couple of things. So segregation of duties. there's nothing that a community our size will ever do to get that completely removed from our audit. It's just not possible. We don't employ enough people. However, as a staff, we want to do our due diligence to make sure, which we do. One person counts the drawer separate from the person who's taking the money from that drawer. We have a separate staff person taking the money to the bank. We're having, the city clerk is doing the bank rec versus other people are, putting numbers in there. So you're never gonna get that removed. But again, it's just something to be conscientious of as a staff that we're doing what we can to do that. So basically any auditor is gonna tell you, unless you hire, 10 new people, which you're not gonna do for that purpose. The second thing was called out for the first time in the 2022 audit. The state is very serious about compelling communities to have a plan when it comes to disaster recovery. And in that case, they're not talking about tornadoes and storms and floods. They're talking about if someone takes over our computer system. And there's examples of communities that spend $200,000 with IT just to be able to restore their information, to be able to sometimes pay off people that have, created we're not going to give you your system back without somebody getting paid ransomware. And so that was called out. So I did reach out to our auditors this morning. He responded and did give me some sort of sample plans, and we need to look at that. And so that was, the first year. And again, I think communities are working towards that.
Lisa, real quick on that, do we have something in our insurance that would cover it?
I believe that we have the riders, but I need to double check. Like I know in my other communities that had EMC, there was a separate rider for like cybersecurity, but it doesn't necessarily have an endless supply of coverage. Like I know
Sure.
there's a community on the east side that was hacked and got a $500,000 misappropriation between the county and the city. And I think all of their policies were like $200,000. So there's that potential risk out there that how high do you let it go? But I will double check on that through ICAP, our insurance coverage. But typically there should be something there, yes. The next item is the budget amendment. And it looks like you at least made a correction to that last year. So it's super important that obviously we're setting a budget in March of one year that we're trying to tell the story and predict what's going to happen for the 15 months later. So it's not the fact that you can't overspend your budget. It's the fact that you have to make sure that you have a public hearing and approve those numbers prior. So a simple example would be you didn't budget for this brush truck. Even though the vast majority of the revenue is coming in, the state focuses on expenditures. And so if you're going to spend $190,000 on a brush truck that you didn't plan on, even if it's $10,000 that we contribute, you didn't plan on the 190. And so it's okay to do that. You don't like stop that, that activity from happening. You just amend it. And that has to be done by the end of May. And so it's important for staff like in April to be looking at where we're at during the year and then be able to say, all right, what are we predicting for the next 2 months? Because you have to do it by the end of May, but yet you have one more month. And so you have to give yourself enough cushion. And even when you do a budget amendment, say we don't want to risk it, so you increase the expenditure amount by 50,000. It doesn't mean that you give staff the authority to do that. It simply says that in these functions, they call them functions. So they're not looking at, did you overspend on office supplies? They're not even looking at it at a department level. They don't say is police versus fire. They say is public safety. All the numbers that you put into public safety, are they within the number that you add all those accounts up and that's the number that you can't go over. So in G-Works, our accounting system, it's called a function report, and it'll tell you where you're at, what your budget is and what's left. And then that's what we'll start doing. In the purest form of approving budget amendments, if we like right now knew that in December that we were going to buy this truck, we really should do a budget amendment even at that time. So in the purest form, you should do a couple of them throughout the year when you know. But at a minimum, you've got to do it in May to make sure that and I think it's pretty rare that there isn't something, even if it's small. So we want to make sure that you do that. I don't know that you set the right numbers from last year, but you definitely at least made an attempt, which will be good for the auditors. The next one is sewer charges. So you are not required by state law to charge ourselves, meaning city government, for water and sewer when it's our department. But once you have revenue bonds and you've borrowed money, the terms of the bonds will say that everyone must be charged for that utility. And so in our case, we don't have any revenue bonds for water, but we do for sewer. So we've been violating the terms of the bonds by not charging ourselves. So I think you know that Chip from Northland is working on our water and sewer rates. So I connected with him to make sure that we have that factored into our new, what we're gonna present to the city council so that we start doing that. In some cases, our city buildings already have a water meter to be able to do that. I've met with Clint and his staff will be making a list of what buildings do not have meters on them, because obviously if we're charging, we need to have meters. So there may be a few additional meters that have to be installed. And so that will be a variation of what we've been doing. It also is allowed that we don't have to charge ourselves the same amount. So if we said, you know, this is a service that we provide ourselves, it's our staff, our time, that we could say if a citizen is paying $3 per thousand, we could charge ourselves $1.50. But it's a technical formality that we have to be doing that. And so I did direct Chip that, at least for now, in the preliminary presentation to the city council, that I would want them to at least produce something smaller so that, you know, to some degree, it's one pot to the other. But we want to make sure that at least if that's the terms of the bonds, that we are complying with them. So that'll be coming. The last couple of things, the TIF debt. I need to look into that a little bit more, but on the list, it talks about the fact that we are not exactly certifying the correct amount. That in some cases, when you look back at the details in the audit, it was an over estimation of the debt, and in some cases the under. So we'll work on that with our upcoming debt certification that's due in November. And we will make sure that we get that. I know that the city staff presented the county auditor's office back in 2022 before there were staff changes with future years. And so there hasn't been an official certification for the last couple of years, which technically is okay. More importantly is making sure that we do our best to predict those dollar amounts and that we're not over or underestimating the debt within the district. The next item is not specifically calling out the chamber and MCDC, but they are the two organizations that are considered private organizations or quasi-public. And so if you look in the audit, it talks about that that's not allowed, that you're not supposed to be giving public money to those kinds of organizations. However, there's a clause that if the council can determine that there's an appropriate public purpose for giving public monies to groups like that, that you can. So you made a partial attempt at making it correct, which was a resolution last year. The difference between what I'll be proposing at the next meeting is an actual agreement, sort of like you have, you know, like 2080 agreements with other organizations. These are called like social service agreements. And that instead of it just being a resolution declaring the city's intent to give it, it holds the agreement between the organization getting the money and the city. So the mayor and I are working on there, you know, will be a paragraph that says you'll provide your annual budget to us if you want these dollars. It clearly states what it is that they're doing. So the chamber obviously like provides a service to the city by having community events, by helping businesses, promoting them, you know, welcoming people to the community, providing welcome packets, MCDC, you know, attracting industrial, the housing projects, all those kinds of things. There's clearly a public purpose. We just want to get it into an agreement form. And so before the next meeting, we're working on them now. I'll present those to the two groups so that they're aware of it, and then we'll bring it back to the council because that's what the auditors will be looking at. And then if there were ever other non-public organizations that the council chose to give to, then we would do the same thing moving forward, that they would have an agreement with. And then the last thing is there's different ways that the city council can levy for property taxes. The first one is what you call your general taxes. And when you get to, you'll call up until the most recent years changes in the state, there was always that $8.10 number that most elected officials know about. So you're allowed to levy $8.10 per thousand. And then when you hit that cap, you're allowed to do other reasons for levying. So you can levy for IPERs and FICA costs. And then one of them is insurance. And in this case, insurance means our liability, our vehicles, our property. And somewhere, the auditors for many years have been calling out that we're over levying. So if our costs on the general fund side, and this doesn't mean the cost of insurance for water and sewer, that would be considered enterprise funds, but if it's all the fire trucks, the police cars, all of our buildings, that would be non-enterprise funds. If we only spend $100,000 and we use that line item, you need to make sure that you only levy $100,000. It seems like the city's response to that was, well, we don't know what the increases are gonna be. And so that's kind of like, if you look in the audit, it'll say like, what's the deficiency? And then it has a city response. And they said, well, we're predicting a 5% increase in the amount that we chose to levy, but maybe we only got 3 or something. And so, so there's a fund balance in there. So we'll need to look at making sure that we, you know, indicate to the auditors when they come that and they'll be here after we actually that the council does the levy, but we'll wanna be cognizant of the fund balance that's in there. And then probably need to reduce that levy at least over maybe a 2-year period to be spending down that fund balance so that that's not sitting in there. And I'll have to make sure also, again, I didn't have time to look at it, but we also want to make sure that we're not levying for the enterprise costs of that. So that's another potential that we need to look at. So if water and sewer have vehicles in there, that has to be paid for by the ratepayers, not by property taxes. So those were the things that were called out. And in the future, when we get our audits back, we'll make sure that we go over those. You know, it's kind of in the very back of an audit, and maybe it's not always been brought to the city council. And so we just want to make sure that whatever issues are there, that we're trying to get rid of those out of there. And making sure that the auditors know that we're taking those recommendations seriously and trying to get them off our list of items that they call out.
We've had to reply for each of those items, but we didn't necessarily know as much information as you shared, so thank you. I might also point out that 810, that was the original amount when they set this particular rule up in like 1970. They never changed the dollar amount.
And now they're lowering it.
And now they're lowering it. Yes. So the cost of nothing went up since 1970, apparently.
And the last item we can talk about on the next item is the capital deficiencies.
Yes. Okay. I thought that's what you're probably doing. Appreciate you doing that. I think that was good information for everybody. Number 18, resolution 2024 65 to approve of internal fund transfers. This is regarding our capital fund balance that she's going to talk about.
So when you look in the audit, their capital fund is one column in your numbers, but in the case of Red Oak, you have, as the auditor said, I've never seen a community with that many funds. So we need to work at getting rid of them. So as an example, what's happened here in Red Oak is that if we're doing Eastern Avenue and then 8th Street and then 4th Street, they're creating a separate fund number, which is always in the 300s. And we've literally gotten so many that we've now ventured into the 400s. And the auditor said that we need to get rid of those. So what is more common is that you would say street projects. And then within the street project fund, you know, you're probably only doing one at a time. So you're going to have Eastern Avenue, you get it back down to 0. And then the next time you adopt one, you keep using that, or you could do street equipment, you could do police equipment, things like that. And so we just keep using a new number. And so he did call that out, but it seems like there's probably some that just people maybe didn't understand that when you get to the end of a project that you need to make sure that that fund is made whole, regardless of, you know, it's the same thing, like you buy a piece of equipment and maybe you thought however it was going to get funded. And so there's a number of them that are, so you don't see the detail like that in the audit. What you just see is a negative balance. And so when you look at the numbers, I didn't put those pages in there, but the number one fund that comes up as a negative was the capital fund. So then what I had to do is go back to the auditors and say, all right, that $200,000 shortfall is a conglomerate of some that are positives and some that are negatives. And which funds are the negative ones, so that if we make those whole, then overall it'll come back to a positive. It's not necessarily that if you approve all the 900s that it's going to go to 0, because there's other ones that are in the positive. And so, and again, I think sometimes it's not, that doesn't mean that we don't have money, but if you look at like road use, for example, there's over $1 million in road use, but then you have capital road projects that have these deficit balances. So the appropriate thing would have been that you would take your road use money and transfer it in to zero that out. So you have a high road use balance, which is the first item on page 74, is Eastern Avenue, which is complete, correct? We just,
Did we make that?
Yes, we're finalized.
yeah, it
We're
was that
fine.
last
It's
payment that we
done.
talked about
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so the other thing is that our consultant that we had the council approve last time, Beth Bonds, she's gonna be here in a couple weeks. She's gonna be in Des Moines on a Friday, so she's gonna come over the weekend. And what we're asking for is the number that we think is the max, and then she'll be able to help me kind of go through and look at some things that she's more in tune with, where we can search for things. And so we'll report back on the exact number, but this allows us, before our annual financial report is due, to be able to make these changes so that this doesn't continue on past fiscal 24, which is about what we're about to report. So The Eastern Avenue one is $298,000 short. I'm rounding off numbers. And so the proposal, as you can see there, would be to take that out of the road use fund, 110. This one I think probably surprised people, but the bandstand stage, in that, fund, which is, Fund 312, is $59,000 short. And so somewhere, again, it doesn't look like there was any grant money or anything like that that is missing, but it has a shortfall of that amount of money.
I think it has something to do with the hotel motel tax
We did,
dollars.
our country board got hotel motel tax money for that project.
Right. So again, we'll look and see if that was not transferred there, and we'll be able to tell that, but I don't know if that's the amount that it was or not. Or how much
It
was that.
seems like that's close to what it was, so I'm thinking that it might be, but
Brian, do you know?
Brian?
I do not, Tim. I was trying to think of that and I cannot recall.
So we'll look
No
back and
worries,
try to
you'll-
give, no, but I appreciate, like, that's part of what we need to know, because obviously I'm
Yeah.
sitting like, I have no idea.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
So if there's something where at least we know, we can look to see if there was a transfer made, or if there isn't a transfer in that fund, then we can look back to the minutes and see what they got. And then if there's hotel motel money, then that would also be an appropriate place to take it.
So I guess,
If-
Lisa, does that shortfall for Eastern, does that include the ARPA funds that we dedicated towards that?
I don't think that, like, by the time that we buy the ambulances and pay the GIS, I think that, and a couple other things that came out of there, there's a little bit coming from ARPA, but it looks like ARPA will be spent.
I thought that we already had earmarked a certain amount of money for that Eastern project, which I was opposed to, but I thought we had done that.
I will check Brian and then we can report back, but yes,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome. The next one is, again, that ARPA funds were allocated for the fire trucks or for the ambulances. There was the USDA paying for one and then ARPA for the other, but it wasn't transferred. And so it's again appropriate for the council to say. So if we get that full amount for the 163, it may be able to come out of ARPA, but as we're finalizing the ARPA, if there's a shortfall there, my proposal on the next item is to take sales tax money from the public safety sales tax if there's a small shortfall. Last one is 8th Street, same thing. There's a small fund balance there. Deficit of the $14,000. And so again, with the road use being over $1 million, we would propose to take that out of there. And then the final one that I'm hoping we can find is in the wrong place. The auditors indicate that the bike walk trail fund is $360,000 of a deficit. But they refer in some of their audit reports to $1 million coming in and only 700,000 being in that fund. It's some rounding off numbers, but when you look at the difference between the two, there's been references to grant money. And so now we have to go kind of searching to see if perhaps that 360 got put in the wrong fund. Because I know that nobody thinks that the trails weren't paid for. But there was a reference in the audit, and again, you know, you're trying to communicate via email and stuff with the auditors and look at their old work papers, but they do reference. There's a reference in their work papers that talks about the $1 million that we spent. But when you look at the revenue into that fund, it's only in that 7 something, which is where you get the 360 shortfall.
So when you're talking about the trail, Lisa, are you talking about that section that it was actually part of the road around the, would be on the southern perimeter that they repaved 6 or 7 years ago?
I think it's the south side of Highway 34, because you see expenses that say like Eastern to 8th and 8th to 4th. Maybe you chunked it up that way.
I see. I
Were
see.
there chunks of it done, not all at once, or was it like one fell swoop? So it looks like you haven't done anything since like 2018 or 19. Anybody?
That would be that would be when they did that.
That was before us.
Before all of us.
Yeah, we'd have to.
You can just see in the expenses, like I can run, you know, like I can run the expenses and it'll there's line items that say things like 4th to 8th or 8th to Eastern.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming there was, you know, and again, it's 4 to 6 years that anything's been
Does
spent.
the committee have an accounting of the expenditures for the bike trail?
Well, we would.
Yeah.
I mean, I emailed, people that are involved and they were like, what?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we'll look, but again, at the end of the day, the auditors are looking to say, you can't just leave deficit balances hanging out there. You need to figure out a way that they get funded to a 0 and then close them out. So we'll report back when we find more. I just want to, just a
Keep
little,
going and going, going, should have.
right?
And
So the goal is to be able to resolve this by fiscal 24. So we'll report back with a final number, but this at least gives us legal permission to transfer those funds within our accounting system.
And you're gonna do that with Beth when she's here?
Yeah, she'll be here in a couple weeks.
Okay. Right,
So this would be a resolution to approve
Yep.
that so that we can make those moves.
need a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Bradley,
I'll second.
right off. Any further discussion? Again, good clarification, appreciate it.
I just
Thank
like to
you.
thank you for uncovering some of this. I think that was all happened before a lot of us were here, so
Correct.
it's new to us. And thank you for doing that. And it'll be nice to get it straightened out and you've done a lot, Lisa. Thank you.
She has.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Roll call. Right on.
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
yes,
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills.
Yes,
All right, number 19 is just discussion on construction update on Highway 34 and the bridge on Highway 48.
So, staff, a number of us from the staff, and the mayor, and Brian from EMA all met with representatives from the DOT. And while it's not always pleasant to make some of these decisions, we really have to do what we can to get this project moving quicker than it's been moving. And so what we kind of decided on behalf of the city was that we needed to give our okay to be able to close those 3 intersections at once so that they can just proceed down and not be chunked up into sections, starting, stopping. And then also from the chief's perspective, I think that, you know, Chief Raymond can speak to it, but he really felt like it's just not safe that you're now having all these trucks coming in and out. They're crossing from an easterly, westerly direction, and then we just have regular people trying to cross there. And so while it's painful and inconvenient, and we will publicize this after we spoke about it tonight, to explain to people that all 3 of those south side intersections will be closed, that everybody will have to move westerly to Broadway and then be able to access that so people can still get to Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and the hotels and Stadium 34. We're not cutting off those businesses, but they do need to move to Broadway, then get to the 34 and 48 intersection, then proceed eastbound.
How long will that last, you know?
They will not tell us how long. It's definitely not like a 1 week kind of thing. It could be the rest of the construction season.
and they've had pretty good weather too, move along pretty quickly.
Yeah. You know, it's just all about the temperature. So last winter, fall, you know, people could pave and pour concrete well into December.
Yeah.
If it's a
Agree.
cruddy cold, then it could be stopped. I think our gut feeling is this is not gonna be done before winter. That there will be, I think everything for sure to the west of the intersection at 34 and 48 will have to be done in the spring.
And the hospital.
Meaning the
getting
intersection
traffic
with
to the
the-
hospital will have to come that far also, correct?
So, yeah, so like,
So are they going to provide wayfaring signs?
So there's not a whole lot of signs, he's gone, but Brian at EMA has 2 digital signs. I think we decided that 4th had enough visibility in the area, and that we would put his 2 signs for northbound traffic at 8th and then eastern, wherever, is it like Sunset, I think is the last street that you can hit to turn westbound, and so we'll place those if the council thinks, but the
So
DOT was not all
Yeah,
about being able to get us much signage
it's
prior to.
emergency vehicles that I think about, you know. That's a long ways if they don't know where they're going, especially at night
Mhm.
or any other time. And coming from the east also, there should be plenty of signage,
Yes.
would be my opinion.
So obviously we created that visual when we closed the ones on the other side, that were temporarily, and then obviously our two chiefs, the sheriffs, they all got that same information and really encouraged them to make sure that all of their boots on the ground employees are aware of it, so people aren't getting trapped and delaying response time.
Sharon,
We
just
also told the hospital.
just for your clarification, I think you're, so
You
they're
come
gonna
up,
they're gonna transition all the traffic onto the new pavement. So,
Oh, okay.
so traffic will be flowing on that new pavement. We're shutting the intersections down, Eastern, Eighth and Fourth. They've run into a lot of hiccups along the way, and to speed this process up, we agreed with them to shut those intersections down. So as far as access from the east, west, anything like that, it's still gonna be a through highway. So nothing like that's gonna be affected.
They'll be on the new pavement, the north
Yep.
side of the
Right.
highway.
It's just you won't be
Actually
able
wider
to.
than what we're using right
Right.
now.
It will be wider, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But it's transitioning them to that, and then they're gonna tear everything out as a whole down the hill and be able to pave everything at once.
Okay.
Yes. So it will be inconvenient for people, especially up in my neighborhood, because we'll have to go clear over to Broadway.
Yep.
Clear over to Broadway to get up and around. But like you said, it's just easier to get it all done all at once. And then you also did notify the school and the buses are already aware.
Yeah, I have a visual that I sent to the DOT to make sure that they were good with it. We'll post that on Facebook starting tomorrow, so it gives everybody almost a week's advance notice. I spoke to Mr. Lorenz and we warned him at a meeting that it was likely. And I spoke to him again late last week and said, while it may not be exactly on the 28th, it will be sometime next week, so get your buses planning accordingly. So they've been given the implements.
Okay.
Well, again, the list that we sent last time, it'll go to Ron up at the hospital so he can make sure he knows various.
And it's way too late to do any talk about overhead bridges too, I'm sure.
No,
We
There's nothing
we
we can
discussed,
do.
but it's not.
That's on our hands.
yeah, it's not gonna be on any of those side streets. What can happen someday is because there's a lighted intersection going in at 34 and 48. They will not put crosswalks there or actuators to go with crosswalks until there's sidewalks installed. So you can't just encourage people to walk along the grass and then cross the highway. But at some point, if we want to look at sidewalks along Broadway on the north and south or on Commerce coming around there, that if we get to that point, and they did say they put the conduit in so that if we ever want to do that, that it won't be very difficult, but until we invest the funds to put sidewalks there. And then what we talked about was that the right of way on the east side of on the east side of 48, heading north and south. There is not a lot of right of way there on the east side of the curb line. So that's where we started talking about, like, does it make more sense that if you brought people, once you got north of the football stadium, that you would then go on to Commerce to then go back to the intersection? And because there's just, like, you can't just put a little tiny 4-foot sidewalk or
I
something.
think we really need to think about that because the housing that's going that way.
I'm not sure that we've got a solution for it. So I know, I agree. And it will be very inconvenient to go from 8th clear down to 48, 34 and back and around.
Well, their own study tells us that the majority of the foot traffic happens on 4th. So I don't know why they'd even talk about putting something like that down there at the intersection of the two highways. Makes no sense.
Well, they're saying that
Because it's already gonna be a
Yes.
controlled intersection is why.
Well,
And
I
there's-
understand that, but there's no pedestrian traffic there. Why put pedestrian accommodations where there's no pedestrian traffic? Makes no
Because
sense.
you would be rerouting the pedestrian traffic to go the safer route is what you would
Well,
be doing.
That's their theory. But everybody is walking from the school and from the other, our main routes there. They're not walking from Broadway. That's not where they're coming from.
We discussed.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, Brian.
Okay. So we will start promoting that as of tomorrow and maybe the chamber and MCDC, just letting those businesses know on the north side. That would be great. Thank you. Number 20, discussion of the removal of
We
controlled
didn't finish the
intersection.
Bridge, sorry.
Oh, I'm
Linda.
sorry. Yes, the bridge for 48.
So the bridge is slated to be replaced on the south end of Highway 48. Two good things that we found out. One is that the original intent was for that to be closed completely. They will do a half and half construction now, and so it'll be able to have traffic flowing, while it'll be restricted down to one lane in each direction, at least they will do that. The other thing is that they originally intended for it to be a small culvert, which doesn't allow the water flow to be as good. And they are gonna completely construct it as a bridge. And so that will also be better for the infrastructure underneath the road there. So that is slated to be bid in 25 with construction on, in 2026.
Will they clean some of that creek up
I'm
on
sure
both
they will.
sides? Will they clean some of that creek up on both sides so it looks better?
I would think yes, they would have.
We would hope so. All
So
right,
just warning everybody that that's coming.
but again, that's 2026 when they'll bid let it in 25. So number 20 is discussion on the removal of the controlled intersection lights on Highway 48 at Corning and Cherry Streets.
So the chief and Chris from the street department are both here that they can weigh in as well. In our meeting with the DOT and kind of related to the bridge is that, as everyone knows, we have 4 controlled intersections right now. And then we will be adding the one at 34 and 48. And so a traffic study was done by the DOT. And the one at Oak Street barely made the threshold of having a lighted intersection, but it was just below. And so they said of the 4, that would be the one that they would at least consider to still be qualified. Obviously, there's the traffic patterns that people are used to. There's the concern of the more open space that you have without forcing people to stop, that speeds escalate. But if we're looking at a typical engineered perspective on what they would say warrants having stop and go lights and stopping traffic like that, the other 3 intersections that are not Oak Street, so that would be Cherry, Corning, and Coolbaugh, do not warrant it. And so I think we talked about, as a staff at least, that if the council was going to consider any of them, that we would not recommend Coolbaugh because of the daycare center there, and that Oak, because that was the one that was most warranted, would also stay.
And I have to say that Cherry Street, when you get Parker getting out at 4 o'clock, there's no way anybody can get across there if when there are 50 cars coming down that street at one time. And then everybody going into the grocery store. I'm sorry, but that's a busy intersection at Cherry. To my thinking anyhow, sometimes you can't even get out in at the other, one of the other stores. Like if you go out Scooters or McDonald's or whatever, you have to go up to the light just to get out onto the highway. That's just my thinking.
So are you saying you're not in favor of removing that?
I would be in favor of not taking that light out on Church Street.
Okay.
That's
Chief or
just me.
Chris, do you guys have one to add?
If I were to make any recommendation, I guess in reference to street light or to those lights, Cherry, I don't feel has been a properly functioning light. That used to be a light that was sensored through the ground. When you pulled up to it, I don't feel like it functions properly, even though they tell us it does. I don't feel like it cycles the way it should. And that's why there's kind of a little congestion there. I do have a little concern about the Corning Street one, just because of the traffic coming in and out of Fairway and the foot traffic that does come across the Joy Street area. That I think, or I feel we would have some significant speeds between Oak and Coolbaugh that would be problematic. So whether we take the light out to put a stop sign in there or just leave the light functioning, that would be my great concern in that immediate area.
You know, Chief, I'd like to just throw in my support for stop signs there. I think it's good to slow the traffic down, but it slows it down, but it doesn't back it up at all, less than the lights have backed it up in the past.
And I would agree, when it is a flashing red, it definitely, it feels like there's a flow of traffic through that a lot better when it is flashing red. And that's just because I don't think the amount of traffic that used to come through that intersection when Provider or Shopco was there. I think that's obviously the flow of traffic has changed since then. So whether we utilize stop signs, I don't think we can get away from some sort of traffic control device at those intersections right there.
I would think if we're gonna change and not remove, that you're gonna have to get that approved from the DOT. And my gut feeling is that they would rather have you have a light, because at least if the light is green, you get 6 cars or 10 cars through. If you create a stop sign, I actually think you have more every car now has to stop.
stop.
So I actually think you clog it up and I think they would tell you to leave the light on. I don't think they would approve.
One other thing I wanted to.
Can you come
I was
up?
thinking- One thing I was thinking about, with the crosswalks, right now, they operate off the stop. When they turn and stuff, we have the walk and don't walk. If we would go to stop signs, we wouldn't have anything there for crosswalks.
No,
You can get the lighted flashers that you get where like someone like
Well, we have
never
to switch it all over to
flashes.
push button.
Yeah.
So, but, one other thing we could do at Cherry, we've kind of thrown it around as an idea of going a four-way red flash there, all four ways, and then people would stop. You wouldn't have that much traffic. It'd be stop and go. It wouldn't be sitting at the light, like when the factories get out and stuff and that backs up. So, I don't know, that's just one thing.
I don't know. I don't know.
Morning Street is, I mean, if it really has much to do with it, but we did put a lot into that intersection, updating the wiring into the street. But I agree with Justin. Taking it out, I think we're gonna create issues as far as people trying to get in and out of the fairway.
yes.
Why do we have to take it out?
Agreed.
I don't think that you have to
I don't
take
think
anything
it-
out.
It's just, it was just a recommendation. I don't think we have to take it
They
out.
just said that we didn't have to have it there,
Right.
since you already have it there.
Right.
There's a program that they help you some, they tried to tell us with the cost of removing it, but talking to the traffic signal people that I work with, they said it'd be very expensive to remove those traffic.
It is something I have gotten calls on quite a bit, especially during harvest season with the trucks having to stop as they're hauling full loads, and cattle trucks. I mean, I do get calls, I would say at least one a month on Corning specifically.
Yeah, and that's a high foot traffic area. We have a lot of people that walk, ride bikes to
And they-
Fairway.
But it does
And
have
they
a
that as
pedestrian.
crosswalk for people
Yep.
to get across there safely.
I would
hate
like to
it.
see us extenuate that pedestrian crosswalk
Yeah.
there because of things that have occurred and
Right, I would like to see that light stay there with.
And Chris can probably elaborate a little more on it. We had a individual that works solely on those lights come down. And he says they're within 0.3 of a second. That they're timed accordingly. And sometimes you would question that fact. I most certainly would believe, but, so.
I think if you don't want to remove any of them, I would at least say that they spend a significant amount of money on Corning. And so at least I think we need to be open if you want to leave them as is, but if we ever get to the point where one of the unwarranted ones is gonna cost us a lot of money to upgrade it, then at least maybe we revisit it before staff is directed to just go fix it because it's broke. If you don't feel like removing them is warranted, I think at least we revisit this as infrastructure is not as fabulous as it needs to be, so.
It's, what I've been told, it's hard to get those lights timed, like when you have 3 or 4 semis sitting at that light, and the light changes. If you have 5 cars or 4 or 5 cars there, they're gonna take off quicker than a semi or tractor sitting there moving through, and that
Then you
delays
have-
some of that time
Then you
too.
have to back up 20 feet to get the trucks around the corner. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're in the turning lane.
well, that's the thing is that when you're in that turning lane, that,
I
or that
know.
stop line should be back about 10 to 15 feet
Uh-huh.
for some of the.
We've had conversations,
Like that.
just because that has been a topic of conversation with several farmers and different truck drivers that come in and out of the new cooperative. The DOT, we could go out there and paint the stoplights if we wanted to, if we wanted our city officials to go out there. The DOT will not paint them. So that, I mean, it's no different than we do the crosswalks and stuff like that.
Right.
That is that's our responsibility.
Would
Some of
that
that shared stuff between the DOT and our responsibilities it doesn't make much sense to me, quite frankly, because it's a little
be-
confusing.
Sounds like that'd be a recommendation from you that we could do that, we should do that, or.
They paint the arrows, the state does, but we have to paint the crosswalks on Broadway, so it's just, they paint the markings in the center lanes, so.
Now, again, white marks on the pavement are just about like a road sign that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah.
So, quite frankly, I mean, so.
I know that the youth council has a project underway where they would like to see a dedicated crosswalk there. So I just think that if there's a way we can extenuate it, that would be good, but.
Again, there doesn't have to be any change, it just warranted bringing it to your attention, that at least from the DOT's perspective and typical SUDAS rules, which is engineering standards for traffic flow that it doesn't warrant them. So if the council doesn't want to take any action, like I said, my only thing would be that I would make sure that staff knows that if it ever comes to a point where we need to invest anything other than minor maintenance, that we would bring it back to the council to talk about if it's worth reinvesting significant funds to fix something. Is that okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good deal. Number 21 is discussion of the weekly residential garbage pickup billed on utilities.
So I think this has been a topic that maybe people have talked about, but not officially talked about. As everyone knows, we do not have any sort of municipal contract. We do not require people through, which is super common in municipalities where we as a community would bid that out to try and get the best price. But there would be a contract with a single hauler. A couple of benefits, not only to obviously having the service, is that you have a lot less disintegration on your streets instead of letting 2 or 3 garbage haulers go down every street and every alley, because it's a free market right now where people can do it. So I think it's 2 issues. One, does that help us on our street maintenance? And number 2, the reality of people not having any garbage service. And that when we look at our nuisance issues, I mean, I can say where I live, I can look around and see trailers full of garbage. That's to say anybody doesn't have garbage is not possible. Everyone generates garbage, no matter who you are or how big your family is. And so I would say that if we're going to do it, you know, it would be best that we do it as a municipal contract, and then we would just go through the appropriate channels to create an ordinance that would say that you're required to pay it on your monthly utility bill. And just like if you don't pay your bill, we can come shut your water off. It would be the same thing, and garbage would go on the tax roll if it's not paid, so.
And I've lived in towns where we've had that. And it required to have a special garbage receptacle that we had to pay for.
Yes, it does.
That the provider provides.
So the
And
provider
then,
provides.
and the city could request that in our contract.
Right, again, to me, like, just because I've worked other places and lived other places, to me, the most sensical thing is that you have what they call toters, and that they're wheelie carts. The downside that I think we're gonna hear from haulers in our area is that maybe their trucks are not built to have the arms that dump those. But again, when you look at what's the most efficient, like, people can put out bags, they can put out, like, I was just told to put out a can, and then critters come and can get in them. They don't get in toters that have covers and wheels. Like,
So
that's just not an
would
issue.
this replace our recycle, because we're paying over $4,000 a month for?
I think over 5,000.
Yeah, we're paying.
So my
700.
understanding again, and maybe this is unique to Southwest Iowa that I'm not accustomed to, but they're making it seem like no one in our area has any sort of curbside, but in other parts of the state and country, it's common that you have weekly garbage and every other week recycling, and you get a toter for each. And they're all curbside and they're all commingled.
And see, places I've had, it was the same day, but you had to have one bag for garbage. And the other bag was your recycling, separated out.
Yeah, this, most I've seen is just, it's a toter. They look
Yeah,
the same with a different color
They're
cover,
Yeah,
light blue and dark blue.
that's what we have.
Right.
But basically, we would just have to write the RFP spelling out that we would like the receptacles included. That would be part of the bid. Any contractor would be presenting to us.
Could we have some kind of a town meeting or maybe a special meeting with city citizen input?
Do whatever you want.
But not of that, I mean, how about our current providers to see if they're willing to change?
Because we have 4 providers right now. So when Lisa reminded me that we've got 4 trucks going through every neighborhood because people can select whichever hauler they use, that's 3 times more traffic on our
Well,
streets.
3 of them are out of town providers also.
I know. So,
So it's gonna have to be a balance of what they want to do and what you're gonna say you expect.
yes,
Because there's the balance of, like, are we only, like, we want to support our local businesses, but we also want to provide the service that we want to provide.
and there are some grant funds available for like $10,000 of the trash receptacles through the DNR and some other programs. And so we did establish a land diversion committee, which includes like Randall Wilson, Jenny Horner, Maggie McQuown, Cynthia Bankston, some others, I believe, that are on there looking at this. So I guess what I would like you to direct Lisa is what direction you would like to see us go.
It doesn't have to be all definitive, but we don't want to
Yeah.
spend staff time if you're gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I look at what's the stuff that staff is dealing with, that police and fire are dealing with when they go on calls, I think it's fair to say that we have an issue.
I think
with
that we
people's-
have a big issue because of the trash that's piling up in people's yards. And they don't want to pay for individual trash pickup. If we add it to our water and sewer bill, it's gonna be mandatory. And so hopefully it would make
I think
the city,
We want to see
Cleaner.
pickup full of trash.
Or garages or
just sitting in
porches.
Garages.
If it comes anyway, every week, you're
Right.
gonna put it in the can
Yes.
at the
Right.
curb. This is it's just part of life.
And I think we should look at the
I'm in
recycling
favor of
piece as
looking
well.
into it.
I agree with that.
And I
And
do
we're
think, I
opposed.
think that you might be onto something, wanting some citizen input somehow,
Yeah.
whether it's a town hall meeting or whether it's a
You
survey.
know, I don't think it would hurt to have a town hall meeting. Just because Lisa's new and Ashley's new and get acquainted with her. Some of those people that have questions that don't normally come and talk, come to our city council meeting. And then if they have questions, that's the place for them to bring it up. If they have any, and then if we do approve something like that, people can say, well, did you come to the meeting? Because. And we can post something in the newspaper too, like we're interested in pursuing this type of trash pickup for the community.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna get positive and negative, so.
Mhm. Mhm.
There will definitely be people that think that it's just gonna be an expense, but I think at a
Overall.
level of leadership in a community, I
Absolutely.
think we know that like our nuisance officer is dealing with things that would go away. That would clean things up, and there's that balance of, like I said, no one can say that they don't have garbage.
I agree with that part, and we also have people that come from out of town to put stuff into our recycling bins
Mhm.
that I'm paying for. And so are other people in this
It's true.
town. We also have people in this town that are paying a recycling fee that don't use it. Cause they can put everything in their trash too, so, yeah. Something to think about.
So I've never lived in a municipality except Red Oak that did not have municipal trash service. And when you talk about some people complaining about it, the people I've talked with, the only people that I've heard complain about it are the people that are kind of an issue with it.
And I'm the same. I've never lived anywhere where I didn't have both offered and the receptacles a part of it, so. Just part of the service, so. So I think your directive is to look into it and we should probably schedule a town hall maybe.
Do you wanna just do a separate meeting, or do you wanna do it at a regular meeting?
I
Maybe
think
do
should Be a
it.
separate meeting.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. I mean, we can have it at the Y. Or someplace, a public meeting place, where people maybe felt more comfortable to come than a city council meeting.
Yes, we could do that.
And our meetings are now for everyone to watch, so.
Correct.
They'll hear them.
That's right. Well, and we can announce it to our different organizations too, like Altrusa Rotary, we can send out put something in the paper
Mhm.
that we're gonna do this.
Okay.
The
Right,
more people we can get behind it, the better off we'll be. We
Yep.
don't have to decide on our own.
and I can tell you this, the kids in this school
Uh-huh.
would be all over this. It's when we survey the youth council and the IJAG kids, their major things are the trash and the build. So, yep, okay. Number 22, discuss of the mayor's State of the City address in January. I just want to be able, we've gotten a lot accomplished over the past 3 years, and I feel it's an opportunity for us to provide the community with the community report card, but also just a overview of what has been accomplished and yet what we have that we're looking ahead at. And so I guess my question to you all is, Lisa's suggested that we either record it and put it all online, or record it and have an event in which we would invite others to it. Another thing that I had talked about is holding a quarterly leadership roundtable. So it could be during one of those meetings at the first of the year to kick off what the council's goals and priorities are. And then a recap of all of the projects that we've completed in the past year. So I see these two things or three things working in conjunction with each other to keep the continuity between all of the different groups. And you see who I've listed there. So that we are working cohesively together, understanding what each other are doing and being available to help support each other's groups. That's the whole idea. So I guess I want to just open it up for you guys' thoughts and ideas. Have it as the first meeting, city council meeting, and it would already be recorded, or we could do it separately.
How do they usually do it? I mean,
We've not done it before. This is
Other communities will do like in January at the new year, like I've seen it where it's like a breakfast at a place, like one of the retirement communities hosts where they already have a
Okay.
kitchen and they make a little breakfast and people pay $10 to come. And, you know, it's kind of like the business community gets invited and then the mayor does a little PowerPoint while you're eating. It's a 7 to 8 o'clock, so everybody gets on their way. There's some communities, maybe during COVID, where they switched it to just the mayor standing at a podium in a room. We videotape it, put it out on Facebook and YouTube and
So
stuff.
we do have a new, event center coming. I heard Aaron on the radio this morning
Mhm.
in the
Yep.
link. So
So maybe.
in January, maybe those would be up and running. We could hold a town conference there. That'd be
Maybe
great.
some breakfast stuffy. I kind of like the idea of doing that,
I do too. I like
but I
the,
want your eyes.
the
Here it is.
fact that we're being more transparent to the public.
Yes, that's the other
Because
piece.
when they come and ask questions, I'm going, have you ever come to a city council meeting? You know, and they haven't, so I think people might feel more comfortable in the setting like that.
Okay.
And obviously it'd be nice if the council was there. You know, it's a weekday. We're not asking for somebody to give up a night. We kind of started at 7, everybody sits by 7:15 and the mayor talks for 20-25. Sometimes there's been, like the ones that I've seen, a department head. If
And
we're
yes, I will.
featuring
All the
Something,
time slot.
if we're featuring like something that, is specific to a department, sometimes the department heads have been there to be part of the presentation, just a little PowerPoint.
Mhm.
So I think it's good.
Yes, let's schedule that for January.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Anyone opposed?
I
Okay,
agree with it.
okay, good deal. Do I need a motion on any of that? That's just, and then the quarterly leadership meetings. If you guys have any other thoughts, if there's any other groups that are missing there that need to be represented. I wondered about the farmer's market. That was the one I forgot. But I just think that, the agenda would go out, people would have their thoughts. We would go around the room. Everyone would say, what their priorities are moving forward into the new year. And then what they're wrapping up or completing or what they're working on. We'd probably take minutes so that we could keep track of all of this stuff. And then that will be what goes into this community report card at the end of the year. And it can work very, very well with Community Heart and Soul as well. So, is quarterly too often? You think that's a good time? Every 3 months or so? I thought at least every 6 months, 6 months to
Maybe
quarterly.
start with 3, and if it seems like you don't have as much to
Yeah.
talk about, you could always back down to 6.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I would think there'd be plenty to talk about.
I think
But I
so.
think too, if people know that we're going to do things like that, that makes a difference and they're more apt to attend. Because
Yeah.
if it's only once a year, they're going, they
A
might
long
not
time
think
to
about
wait,
things.
too.
It's a long time to wait.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
All right, good deal, thank you. Number 24 is discussion of the downtown assessment meetings. Keep in mind, these are November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Lisa,
Letters will be going out. There's, Lane and Steve and Joey Norris, everybody's been helping me gather up the addresses to make sure we have them. And I think there's 120 people that'll be invited to participate. But we'll go in the paper mail tomorrow. We'll send some via email, but the council, if there's any way for all of you, it's like a Wednesday afternoon for an hour. I don't know, like Adam, if you can't, but we have to kind of fit it in there. So the rest of you you'll get your invitation, but it's like a 1:30 to 2:30 on Wednesday, the 6th. And then you'd also be invited to a lunch on the 8th, but that'll all be outlined in the letter. And then there's small groups, so that's how we get to that 120 people. Our core committee work together. There's building owners, there's business owners, there's ag people, industrial people, medical professionals, all different groups, and they kind of get brought in together so that they're a focal point. There's youth, we'll be asking Mr. Lorenz to send a group of students, things like that. So there's 4 to 5 staff people from the state, and 2 of them, there's 2 different meetings going on at the same time. They'll all be held. We really appreciate the Wilson Performing Arts Center being willing to host that for us. So they're opening up their facility for the state staff to be able to invite at 2 different rooms for the meetings. And then the lunch on Friday will also be there. So we appreciate their participation, and everybody on the committee has been super helpful to kind of help plan. There'll be a walking tour. We got a transportation bus to be able to kind of drive them around as your first stage with them. And so it's a great thing. And then of course, at the end, you get a report from them. A lot of it, certainly bears on the shoulders of the city council if they have ideas on how we create ordinances and things like that to try and help. So that's where having the council present at that is helpful. So you'll be getting those letters.
And I think our core team appreciate the chamber, MCDC, cease with our Historic Preservation Commission, and Joey Norris. We did invite DUR, so having somebody from DUR as well. So number 25 is update on the new city website, which is closer and closer.
So I met with Aiden. She's in school obviously now, but we had a Zoom meeting. Some of the department heads have responded. Just, it's obviously not on her shoulders to know what's the accurate information. A lot of it just started with transferring information from the old site. So the department heads have been asked to look at theirs. A couple of them have already responded. So as I get those, I've been sending them to her. Her and I kind of talked about some of the more effective ways to get like the calendar, community calendar. So my goal will be by the beginning of the year that we can put that site live. And then in conjunction with that, again, just a reminder for anybody that's interested that we do put the full packet, that you simply go to where people have always found the agenda. And then instead of having a 1 or 2 page agenda there, it's all 80 pages that you guys had here tonight. So I think that helps with people not just seeing the agenda and wondering what we're going to talk about, or at least what staff is recommending. And then the final thing is that we created a YouTube channel. And so we wanted to test it out tonight just to kind of see how it went. But what'll happen in the future, we'll be advertising for people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then just like if you're a Facebook person or a YouTube channel, when you subscribe to that, anytime we go live, it'll actually like kick out a message and an alert to people that like, hey, the city of Red Oak is live. And so not only will those links, it just links straight to that. And then what I think is helpful is that, in our current world prior to tonight, if you couldn't tune in at 5:30, you did not have an opportunity to watch the meeting. So now you can either tune in live as a reminder on YouTube, or obviously if you have the Zoom link, but then anytime that someone wants to watch our meeting, they're all memorialized on that YouTube channel out on the internet. It'll be clearly in a city council folder on our page. And then the way that Ashley will name them, it'll have the date. And so people can refer back, and if they're wanting to, they can sit and watch our, whatever we're at, hour and 45 minutes.
Good deal. Awesome. I'm glad that's coming together and getting done. Would people be opposed to doing pictures?
Of the council,
Like council members, pictures of you on the city's website?
No.
I just think it adds, it makes us more professional, and it makes people able to relate with us more. And I would like staff myself. I'd like to see our staff have pictures too.
Powers did our chamber.
Yes, he did. Drew Powers is the former police chief, so maybe we could ask. We'd have to probably do, if we did that, would we have to do an RFP? there's a number of
It'd be very
people.
much money to have somebody come. If we just did it before a meeting and everybody dress whatever you wanna wear. You could put the flag behind you.
Mhm.
Laura Cleaver does a really
Yes.
good job with that,
She
actually.
does too.
That's fine.
She does. Okay.
Not that I'm encouraging her.
Number 26, department reports. It
Anyone?
should have probably been water and wastewater, and I didn't remind
Yeah.
them. I didn't remind
We
Clint, so.
talked about it at the staff meeting, we can just tell you that, my request, obviously, department heads don't need to be here every meeting, but I would like to see them come basically once a quarter. So at tomorrow's staff meeting, we're gonna have a 6-month schedule, and then they'll sign up for 2 meetings, try to divvy it up, so we don't have 6 here and none the next time, but I just think it's good for relations between department heads and the council, and then if there's anything that the council wants to kind of communicate back, that I want department heads to know they're welcome to come and part of our team here at these meetings.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay. Administrative report?
So a reminder that City Hall, our first cleaning day is on Friday. We have dumpsters being delivered both for paper and for garbage, so we're super excited to get things cleaned out. The department heads are gonna come and kind of help whatever stuff is theirs to kind of get through that, so that'll be on Friday. We'll post a reminder. Alex, we have a debate at City Hall if it's Alex or Alex, but I hear more people say Alex. So that street is being resurfaced by Chris's crew, or I think it's contracted out.
It's a contract.
Right, so that's starting tomorrow. So again, when I get back to the office here tonight, we'll post something as a reminder. People can get to some of that area from the east side, but there will be closure there for a little bit. Want to get that done before the highway
Next week.
south side closes. So we're doing that.
Good job, Chris.
And then just a reminder that one of the things that we're gonna have to start putting on our agenda going forward is we're gonna have to put a couple chapters every council meeting for the recodification. I presented to planning and zoning. They had a meeting this morning, and so I brought them up to speed on the recodification and want them to look at the zoning chapters and things that we think, but all of you sort of know from things that have come forward, what are the things that maybe we don't always have as much teeth in for things like that. Some that I, along with City Hall staff, we're trying to write down things that come up. So we'll work on that. The other thing that I met with planning and zoning about and that I would propose to the council is there is definitely a challenge in every community about understanding our responsibilities when it comes to zoning laws. The Board of Adjustment, I think, has gotten presented a lot of times with variances that maybe do or don't comply, and people understanding like that it's super strict to get a variance if we're following state code. So one of the options that we have is through the Iowa State University. There's training seminars that they have all over the state. You pay $75 a person. So for sending 10 people, you would pay $750, and it's harder to get people to go because it's out of town. For $750, we can have Luke Seberg from ISU come here to our community, and that includes up to 20 people. And so what I'd like to propose is probably a January evening. Planning and zoning was on board. I've talked to individuals at the Board of Adjustment that would also be on board, and then elected officials. So he'll come. We don't have to share the audience questions with other communities, but I really think as part of our spirit of trying to get up to speed on what everybody's obligations are, that I'd like to bring them in. I asked him to send me some late January dates, and then we'll try to get plenty of warning. It's like a 2.5 to 3 hour session. So it'd probably be like a 5:30 to 8:30. We can get some pizzas or something so people can just come straight from work, and it's Q&A, presentations, part of the fees, books that you get. And I just think it would be super helpful for everybody.
Well, he did the one, what was it, 2
Oakland.
years ago or so in
Yeah,
Oakland?
we
He did a
did that one in
fantastic
Oakland,
job.
Yeah.
He's the same guy,
It
but he's
was
here. and then I
Really,
think-
really
Yeah.
helpful.
It was very good.
Yeah.
We had 10 Red Oak people at
Yeah.
it, and 20 people attend, so.
Yeah.
But remember, like, you've just appointed 3 new people to the Board of Adjustment, and
Yeah.
that's out of 5, and we're dealing with a variance right now that, you know, I'll do what I can to help push things to be as compliant as they can be, and I just feel that, I can feel that in our process that we've gone through, that people want to do what's right, but it's hard to understand. Like, when you actually look at the letter of variances, it's like no one should get one.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, we should be trying to follow the code. And so but it's uncomfortable because people want to be reasonable and they want, like, the spirit is you want to be good neighbors and, you know, what's the big deal kind of thing, but it's challenging. And so I think helping, you know, information is, and knowledge is power to help people feel confident. And I think that's a good investment of our dollars to bring in. So I'm planning that, and we'll get the date out with some options for people to say if there's a better night. I kind of said a Tuesday, Wednesday type, not Monday where we're already maybe conflicting.
If we could get, economic development and chamber, somebody from those there, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, we can have up to 20, and then even if you want to have more than 20 by the time, it's like another $16 a person, which just
Yeah.
covers the cost of the
Cost of their book, and it is a very good training, yeah. So, good deal,
That's all
end
I-
of January, that's
Yeah.
great.
That'd be
I
great.
think that's a great idea, so thank you for bringing that. Number 28, did you have anything else, Lisa?
I do not.
Okay, number 28, mayor's report, I just passed around, here you go. I did this last minute, so I do have a couple copies if the media would like a copy. I just, basically, I just put together real quick. First of all, I just want to say, this is like almost a full month now. Lisa, you've been with us. I just am so grateful and so impressed by, she is a power horse and productive, extremely efficient, and knows her stuff. And it's just really, really refreshing for me to be able to step away from City Hall.
I know you had a weekend off.
I had a week, I've had 2 weekends off and most of my weeks off lately. So I really am grateful for everything that Lisa brings and just knowing that she takes care of it. I mean, and nothing gets dropped. So I'm just super impressed. And grateful to have both Lisa and now Ashley on board. So thank you, ladies. Just a couple meetings I attended last week. Some things with this field of interest fund meetings. The DOT and then our youth council did meet yesterday and had General Christopher Hughes do a session on emotional intelligence. I was not there, but they had a great time, and I think Cynthia Bankston and Dave Demmett really enjoy working with the kids. Continuing to work on the EPA assessment grant with Terracon. Lisa participated in the call, so she's gonna take that one now. And then the Community Catalyst Grant, just working on this TIF agreement and all of that is also grateful to have her involved in that. Upcoming meetings, just there's the list of things that I have coming up. Just to point out, we do have a hazard mitigation plan update. This is a county-wide plan that we do, and we will meet later this week for that. We have trick or treating on the trail, and then we do have a special meeting coming up for some select people that will be invited. On the 30th, I have a meeting scheduled to discuss a potential access center where we could have social services of all sorts, possibly at one location. I'm hoping that goes well. And then, Emergency Management Symposium is in Des Moines all day on November 1st. It's Friday. Anybody that's interested in going to that, I would love to have as many Red Oak staff people or council members present if you're interested in going. I think it's $80 to register, and you don't have to spend the night now. We've done it as an all day so that you can leave when it's over. Just a reminder that November 2nd is the anniversary of the country club celebration, just so that everybody remembers that. Also, get out and vote on November 5th. Your vote does matter, especially in the state of Iowa.
If you haven't voted, you can go down and vote now.
Correct.
The auditor's office, and it's simple and quick.
So just go do it now so you don't have to worry about it, right?
It's really nice.
Also, I did get a notice that the Veterans Day program will be on November 11th, again at the high school at 10:30. So just wanted to remind everybody for that. And then I will be a part of the League of Cities. We're doing a strategic planning session on November 7th all day. And I will say, I had to be interviewed by the consultant that we've hired to do that. And just the purpose, vision and mission of the league is just very valuable to the city of Red Oak and our involvement in their policy and legislative committee is also really, really important. Especially this next year, we're going to go pretty firm on 3 main priority goals that hopefully the legislature will pay attention to. that do definitely impact Red Oak, so. And then next year we'll hit some additional public service ones or public safety ones, so. I think fire is one this year that we're gonna push on, so. That's all I have. So, city council reports. Should we start with Adam this time?
I haven't really been at time to attend meetings, but I was approached about, the youth, baseball fields and who takes care of them, and that is with the YMCA. We pay the YMCA to take care of them, correct? Got back to me, and individual was kind of interested in what it would take to take that over. Cause they didn't feel YMCA was doing a very good job.
We maintain the fields.
Yes,
And they provide the services
Service.
of the programs. And then I can't remember the name of the youth group, JA.
JPAA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so,
they also provide programs there.
right.
So we do have an agreement that we found.
Yeah, so they just didn't like how things are going down there, as I don't know what to tell them, so.
I would say have them talk to
Yeah,
Lisa.
that's what I said,
Mhm.
so, once they
Okay.
move forward with it, I'll direct them that way.
Okay. All right, John? Okay. Tim?
Liked the MCDC meeting, and then I had a YMCA board meeting as well.
My YMCA, okay. All right, Brian,
I have had nothing.
you have been harvesting for the past two.
Yeah, feeding the planet, helping to
There you go.
feed the planet, yeah.
Right, and Sharon,
Okay, I attended the Travel Iowa Tourism and Development.
I
meeting.
forgot that too.
I
I know, we did do, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Travel Iowa Tourism, that was really great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
NBC meeting, which Tim is our
Yeah.
president, and we went over a lot, so it was a
Very
very
good
informative
meeting,
meeting. We're working on a lot, hopefully something, a lot of things come out of that. On the, chamber meeting, board meeting, the hospital auxiliary board I'm on, I attended that meeting. We went to the ribbon cutting that the chamber, sponsored for Lurs and More, and, Lisa and I attended that. And that it's a really nice cabin out in the, outside of Red Oak on a pond, and it's really cute, isn't it?
Super cute. We
Yeah.
went there.
Where is
Fast
it?
now. It's called Lures and More,
Lures
What's the
and
street
more.
that we turned? Like we took 48 south to left.
270th Street. Back that way.
It was super cute.
Anyway, it's really nice. So we had a really nice time. So, and October 19th, we went to Wine Barrel Inspirations, a new business.
Mhm.
Sharon's my new
With the slide.
social coordinator.
Mhm.
Feed all the events.
That's all I did.
Well, and I wanted to acknowledge, thank you, Lisa, for, and Kevin McGrew for meeting the governor at the airport last week. She
It was
flew
like a
in and
last
gave
second.
like a last second notice.
She'll be there in 30 minutes and don't tell the press. I'm like, well, we can at least welcome her. So
So,
But I
yes,
saw on Facebook.
yeah,
I did.
so it was great.
She was the one that brought up, do you want to take a picture? I was like, well, we might as well give a little airport publicity.
That's right,
Resource.
that's right.
All right, so items for upcoming agenda. So you're gonna work on a couple
17 things.
ordinances or recodification, some code.
Yeah, we'll randomly pick some fun chapters.
I do want to talk about animal pound discussion and some ideas for that. I said we'd wait to do that until November.
Could we get a nuisance report next time too? I enjoy videos and telling people how much progress we're making.
He is
Enjoy.
doing he's doing a fantastic job. He just sent out 57 letters
Yeah.
Trim your trees.
for trimming your trees.
Oh, yeah, those,
Okay?
The best part is that everyone's calling and saying, what tree?
Mhm.
that was
Yeah,
me.
what tree?
Did you say one tree too?
No, mine was taken down years ago and I still get the letter. So.
All
A
right.
lot of dead trees.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of items for the next agenda. So now that we have made it through the entire agenda, I can just adjourn this meeting
That
at
is so
at
exciting.
7:27. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our
Bye.
guests.
Bye all, take care.
Bye, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
To the end. Every